What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, today I want to talk a little bit about exactly what's going on with Bitcoin in the broad market, because we did just get some news last night that Blackrock was selling. They had their second ever day of outflows, leading many people to wonder what's going on. And I just want to kind of clear up some of those thoughts. I saw it in my comments, I saw it on Twitter. So I figured, you know what, this morning, let's go over it. Let's talk about what's happening. But before that, of course, we'll get a feel for where the market's at currently. So let's get straight into it, shall we? So guys, don't forget, if you do want to use the link down in the description below, it'll bring you over to Margex. This is where I do all of my trading, and the good part is you don't need to KYC and you don't need to use a VPN. That means anyone in the world can use Margex down in the description below. You will get up to $10,000 in bonuses, and they are doing a $500,000 KASPA airdrop right now. So if you do like KASPA, or if you just like free money, you can go ahead and try to get in on this KASPA airdrop as well. I'll leave the link down in the description below. Also, how to get access to this. It's phenomenal. Now, looking at the broader market, what is going on currently? Well, over the last 24 hours, especially since our last video, not too much is going on. Solana itself is down a good bit. Solana's kind of leading the charge downwards, 4% in the last 24 hours. We see Toncoin coming in at 3%, Cardano 3%, but realistically, nothing too crazy in the top 10. Now, pulling outside of the top 10 a bit, you can see general redness across many of your different cryptos, right? Render, Floki, H&T, Popcat, Near Dogs, all of these ones coming in, putting in some losses over the last 24 hours. But again, realistically, nothing too crazy going on here. If we do look at the month, we are negative still. We look at the week, we're a little negative. We look at the day, we're a little bit negative. But the good part about it is it's not been that crazy, right? If we do go look at total market cap, which is just the total market cap of crypto in general, we remove everything. What you can see is that the last few days have been rather, consistently sideways. And although we are down from where we were right here, if we do look at from, August 7th to now, which is damn near the entire month, you can see that we've been basically in the same little area for the majority of the month. So even in these moments with micro bursts to the upside and to the downside, there's still not really a lot going on in crypto. This is one of those boring phases that we all just come to learn to accept, but most of us do hate. Now, looking at this thing from more of a fundamental perspective, Crypto Fear and Greed Index to begin, of course, as per usual, we can see the current Crypto Fear and Greed Index reading out of 34, a little bit up from yesterday. I do believe yesterday we were sat at a 29, if I remember correctly. Let's see here. Yeah, we were sat at a 29 yesterday, so things are looking a little bit more optimistic today, which is a little interesting, right? Because of course we did get some bearish news, quote unquote, from Blackrock and stuff, but overall, obviously, we are still sitting in that zone of fear. And the craziest part is that if we look at the year, we have now set 42 days in the fear zone, and the craziest part is basically all of that has been within the last 60 days. So a lot of time spent in the fear zone, as we have been putting in this move towards the downside. So I still do hold on to the fact that I think this is still a decent buying opportunity. Not the best. Obviously, the best was whenever we got this wick to the downside here. Whenever we saw Bitcoin lose. Let's go to this one. We saw Bitcoin lose some support here, fake out to the downside, right? That was the best time to be buying, but realistically, I still think it's a decent time to buy. Now, looking at the RSI heat map, getting a feel for where the general majority of cryptos are, what we can see is that this thing is falling pretty quickly. We were around the neutral zone and higher neutral zone just a couple days ago. Now we're seeing the average RSI across the top 100 cryptos sitting right above the weak zone, even some dipping into it, like DOT, Matic, ARB, Phil, ETC, EOS, BOEM. Like a lot of these are starting to get to a weak perspective, and historically speaking, this dark green zone is a decent to good time to buy. The oversold zone is a great time to buy. And so overall, seeing the fact that this market is pulling back towards the zone, I would say we're re-entering into a pretty damn good time to be looking to pick up some cryptos. Now, to get a feel for where this market could definitely be going sometime soon, looking at the liquidation map, we can see more liquidations will now occur if this market moves upwards on the dailies. More liquidations will occur to the upside if this market moves upwards on the 7 days or the weeklies. And then on the monthly, we are seeing almost the same thing, in which it is somewhat even, but a little bit more towards the downside. What this tells me is that over the midterm, right, the mid to macro, over the next few weeks, we definitely need to be careful, because a move towards 53,000, 54,000 is still very possible. But in the meantime, we are starting to see things shift. We are starting to see things change. And if this market does move upwards over the next couple of days, over the next few hours even, we will see a ton of liquidations there. And so that does lead to some uncertainty. To me, I wouldn't go ahead and say for sure that in the grand scheme of things, right, this month we are going to see this market move upwards, because there are still a lot of liquidations that will happen if it goes down. But at the end of the day, it does seem to me as if the general direction of this market in the grand scheme, right, the big scheme, is still upwards. And so I would say, yeah, overall, this is a pretty decent time to buy. A great time to buy would be if this green line's way up here and the red line's way down here, because it means that people think this market's going to go down. Historically, it goes in the opposite direction, and that would align better with the 7-day. It would also align better with the 1-day and put things in a position in which I would be a lot more confident this market's going up in the next couple weeks, but I'm just not there yet. And so my general perspective on this market is that although it's not a great time to buy, it's still a decent time to buy, especially while Bitcoin is below $60,000. You know, anything between 60 and 52, 51, I think this is a good little time to be buying here, the bottom threshold of this descending wedge in which we have been in. But that's where we are with the market. Overall, nothing too crazy. Not much has changed since our last few updates, but we did get some news. Now, what we can see here from our friend Well Panda is that yesterday, Bitcoin's ETF flow was negative again for 71.8 million. Blackrock had its second outflow day with 13.5 million, Fidelity coming in with 31.1 million, and GBTC with 22 million. Now, what we're going to pay attention to and we're really going to focus on, hopefully I can zoom this in a little bit. Let's try that. Okay, that works a little bit better. What we can see here, hey, maybe this works a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit. So this column right here, this first column is a representation of the daily inflows or outflows for IBIT, which is of course BlackRock's ETF for Bitcoin. And what it allows us to see is whether or not they've had positive or negative days. And all throughout this month and basically throughout the course of the ETF history, there's only been one other time except for yesterday that we actually saw net outflows for BlackRock. Yesterday, we saw $13.5 million worth of outflows, which is again the second time in history, which it's not a super long history, but in history, that we have seen BlackRock come in with outflows. Now, a couple of things that I want to address. First and foremost, 13.1 million is absolutely nothing in comparison to the $20 billion worth of assets under management that they have for Bitcoin. Okay, it's really not much. What you can see here is, I mean, the 26th of August, they had $224 million worth of inflows. The day before that, 86 million of inflows. The day before that, 75 million. I mean, $13 million worth of outflows is almost nothing. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but in the grand scheme of things, it is. I think it's like 228 Bitcoin, 220 Bitcoin, something like that. It's just not a lot. One, so this is not a big deal. They're not selling a lot. They're not even remotely selling enough to probably even make a difference within the reporting and accounting that they do, right? But it is selling. Now, there is something that is interesting, though. Historically speaking, with BlackRock, on days where we presume things should be negative, right? Like the last few days, someone steps in. Maybe it's them, maybe it's a buyer. I don't particularly know. Someone steps in to balance things out. They don't like having negative days. And you can kind of see that, right? You go look at something like August 28th, 0. No inflows, no outflows. The 27th, 0. We go back up here, the 15th, 0. I would presume that these are days that should have been negative, where they were slightly negative, maybe 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, whatever, where more people were actually outflowing than inflowing, but someone, probably BlackRock, stepped in and, purchased it. Why? Well, it looks better. Obviously, they have billions of dollars under management. They don't want their clients feeling like the thing that they invested into, people are starting to abandon ship, because obviously if some people start jumping ship, the more people start jumping ship, then everyone starts jumping ship, and it's not good for them. They lose money. They obviously lose the money they generate on the fees for the assets that they manage. It's not good all around. And so they're willing to step in and, of course, buy this thing back up to 0. But they didn't do that this time around. Why? You never really know, right? There's a bunch of different reasons that it could be, and it might not even be BlackRock. It might be another buyer. That's the thing that we don't really know. And so that's why this is at least worth paying attention to, because if this does become a consistent thing, right, or they're not zeroing out on many days, where they are allowing outflows on many days, maybe that does change the course of a little bit. Maybe it does remove a little bit of the bullish conviction from the IBIT ETF, right? Maybe there are some of those effects that will happen, but we're just too early to see. The last time that we saw an outflow day, we didn't see another one until now, and that was months. And so because of that, I'm personally not all that concerned, not even really worried, but I am paying attention to it to see, okay, how does this affect things, right? And so as of now, it's not really a big deal. I don't think it's worth, sounding the alarms for. I don't think it's worth freaking out over. I definitely don't think it's worth selling anything over, but it is worth paying attention to. And so, of course, I wanted to share that with you today, give you my thoughts and my opinion on why, people, what's going on here. Is it that big of a deal? In my opinion, no, particularly not. And at the end of the day, you also have to remember, it's not BlackRock selling, it's their clients outflowing. There's a huge difference behind that. If Tesla bought Bitcoin as a company on its balance sheets, then starts selling that Bitcoin, that's one thing. But if you have a client investing into your ETF and then wanting their money back, so you have to sell that Bitcoin in order to provide them the funds, that's not the same thing, right? It's not BlackRock itself selling. presumably. And so because of that, I just wanted to give you my thoughts there. But let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about this? Do you think that it being negative and being an outflow is a bad thing? Why do you think that they've allowed this? Because clearly someone's not allowed this in the past. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, while you are down there, if you are new to the channel, remember, we're only a month old here. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by October, and we seem like we're going to do it. So of course, if you guys could help out by subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and dropping a comment so as many people see it as possible, I would absolutely appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you all in the next catch up. Peace out, everybody.